I think it's about time to give you a little update on the renovation, show you what's been happening, show you a bit behind the scenes as well. Hi folks, welcome back to our 1920s renovation project that we're working on at the minute. This is of course going to be our own family home once we're all finished, and we're immensely excited about everything. Don't expect there to be like massive changes yet, because we are still waiting on planning permission to go through and building regs approvals and all that sort of thing. So a lot of the major work can't really start quite yet, but I'll show you what's been going on so far. First of all, as you can probably see behind us, we've got the water supply. You've probably seen the video about that already. Cat 6 cabling going in, so structured cabling going in throughout the property. We've determined that it doesn't need a full rewire, but we will be fitting a new consumer unit, a new RCBO consumer unit, and bringing everything up to scratch and just like getting it all properly tested and everything. I'm going to cover the electrics on a separate video, so I'm not going to give you any spoilers on that one. I'm going to talk about all of this soundproofing materials on a future video. This is all acoustic plasterboard and rock wool acoustic insulation. This is actually insulation for under the floors, because I'm going to be taking all the floors up and insulating under the downstairs floors. That's for the 75mm insulation there. The 50mm PIR there is for up in the ceilings upstairs. I'll show you that in a little bit. I'll need a lot more than this, but I'm kind of running out of room. The fireplace in the living room is all cleared out back to the builder's opening, and I've had the chimney swept as well. Oh lordy, this property, man. It looks like the chimney hadn't been swept for best part of 40 or 50 years. Judging by the amount of soot that came out, there was like pretty much a black bin liner full of soot came out when the chimney sweep did that. So I've been clearing up today after the chimney was swept. Even with it all sealed up, there was just so much soot everywhere. This is a house of zero maintenance, and it's kind of a good example of what happens to a property if you just don't maintain it at all. As I say, I'll come back to a lot of that later on. I'm going to be soundproofing the alcoves in this room. There was an inbuilt kind of unit, an alcove unit in here that I had took out. And as you can tell, look at this. So the alcove unit must have been original to the house, because it goes all the way back to the bare brick. So that's all ripped out, and there'll be a new basically a new stud wall, fully insulated, resilient bars and all that jazz. And I'll be making videos all about the soundproofing of the alcove, so watch this space. Don't forget to hit subscribe. You'll find on this project I'm doing a lot of stuff in parallel, so not a lot is finished because I'm working on so many different things at the same time. It's just sometimes the way things work out on a renovation. For example, here we've got a bin full of strips of wood, which these are all going to be battens for holding insulation either under the floor or in the ceiling. I've got them all ripped there ready. I had my table saw set up for a different job, and I thought, well, while I've got the table saw set up, I might as well get all these battens ripped from old pieces of kind of basically from scrap shelving and scrap. I mean, it's good quality wood. It's perfectly good for battens. And those are just basically 20mm square strips that are going to hold the insulation in place. If you remember the original plans, where we're basically taking out this back wall and we're going to extend out the back, there was going to be, well, there still might be, but jury's out. There's supposed to be structural steelwork going in all the way across the top here, but we've got a couple of little complications that we might end up simplifying things a little bit. I've knocked a hole in the top here just to find out what this lintle's made of, and it's a giant timber lintel up at the top there. It hasn't budged in 100 years. I don't see it budging anytime soon. There's no sign of cracking on the brickwork outside or anything. So I'm vaguely tempted to just leave that lintel in place and make do with the opening that's already there, rather than spending thousands of pounds on structural steelwork to make this kind of a foot wider opening. You're still going to need a pillar at both ends to support the steel. But yeah, we're vaguely debating just keeping it that size opening. It's a decent size opening anyway, and it would save putting new steelwork in. The complication is basically down to this stupid little jutty out bit of wall here. And I don't know why they've done this, but for whatever reason, they've brought the wall in on this side You can see it on the outside there as well. No idea why they've done that, but unfortunately it does kind of complicate things a little bit with the steel, because it means you can't just run a normal universal beam across the top there. It means it has to have a welded top plate to account for the fact that the cavity wall changes shape halfway along. So the question is, can we just rejig things and make use of this lintel above this window instead? And we might end up doing that. Again, it's going to save a lot of money for a nominal change to the plans, where we're going to have the doorway down this way. But if we basically come down this, what will be a corridor through the kitchen here, and then we'll have a little kind of L here, and then we'll have a doorway here into the kitchen instead, then we can just make use of the lintel that's already there. So let us know what you think in the comments, but it's adding a lot of expense to the project, and there's a few other things I need to show you upstairs as well that are kind of unavoidable. So if there's areas here where we can save money, then that might be a wise move. Into the dining room, and regular viewers of the channel will know what this thing is here. I haven't managed to find the other half of it yet, so I can't do any Test Tuesday videos quite yet, but I did find that in one of the boxes. Very exciting though is that we are getting new windows fitted tomorrow, and because these windows are absolutely ancient, as you can tell, they don't even lock. So yeah, they're going a journey. And there'll be brand new double glazing going in. Wherever you see R on the wall, by the way, that's where radiators are going. We've knocked the underfloor heating idea on the head. It's going to cause too many complications and it's going to delay things too much. We're still insulating under the floor, but underfloor heating is going to be a step too far. It's going to cause various issues with the timing of doing the build. And yeah, we need to crack on. We need to get moved into this place. Otherwise, we're going to have nowhere to live. So yes, wherever you see R on the wall, that is where a radiator's going. This fireplace was just kind of boarded up. And yeah, wow, the boarding was crazy on it. It had like steel reinforced concrete to temporarily block up the fireplace. And then it was tiled over the top. I've never seen anything like that for just boarding up a fireplace before. We do really like this mantelpiece, so we're going to be keeping that. It probably is original. I'm not stripping this out to the builder's opening. We're not going to put a wood burning stove in here. We were thinking about it, but again, you know, we need to rein things in a bit. We might do it at a later date. So we're just going to kind of nicely board this out and make it like a decorative feature. The fake wood paneling had to go, I'm afraid. I know we were vaguely debating keeping it because everything has this scumble fake wood thing going on. Some of it's quite impressive, some of it's less so, but like all of this, you see, that's not real wood, it's just painted on. I still need to take all this is just panels put over the top of the original doors, so I'm quite looking forward to getting those stripped off and seeing what's underneath. I mean, that's a real art, but a lot of the scumble that had been done in the hallway, it was really beyond repair. A lot of it was peeling off, and we need to get the whole place replastered anyway because there's quite a lot of like damage to the walls and things. And at the end of the day, it wasn't original to the property. So we figured that had to go a journey. We'll be keeping the original handrail. This isn't real wood on the spindles, but we'll keep those and paint them or whatever. Mrs. Mack has done an awesome job on all of the wallpaper stripping. Pretty much all of the wallpaper stripping is done now, ready for replastering. That in itself was a mammoth task. I still need to take all the old architraves and skirtings off. If you're going to be replastering, you're best to take them off, and they're not in the best of states anyway. You can see all the paint's kind of flaking away. So it'll be new skirtings and architraves. Same design, you'll not know once it's all done. It'll be the same design. I'll keep as many as I can, but generally they just break when you take them off anyway. I have discovered an issue down here, which is a little bit annoying. We've got damp in this kitchen floor. I'll be talking about it on a future episode, but you can kind of see here, the dwarf wall under there looks physically wet to the touch, and I'm pretty convinced that it's coming through the kitchen floor, and unfortunately that is causing, well, the bottom wall plate there has completely rotted away, and it's also causing the joists to rot as well. So you can kind of see here, I mean, that the wall plate has literally just turned to dust. This is one of many examples of things where if this had been spotted 20, 30 years ago, and they would have known about it because the floor over in that corner's dropped by about 2 inches, where the joist and the wall plates just rotted away to nothing, and that whole joist is just not attached to anything at all. So if they tackled this problem when it first became evident, then they could have probably rescued these joists. But as it stands, I mean, to be honest, they're solid, but it's just the ends that have gone. But it's turned into a much bigger job than it would have been if it had been investigated and looked into when it first became evident. Here's another prime example of zero maintenance. What happens when you own a property and you don't look after it? I was up on the roof doing some other work and the vent stack literally snapped off. Can you imagine? I mean, this is a cast iron vent stack here, and obviously it would have been that way around. So it's just not been maintained and hasn't been painted properly over the years, and it just rotted away, rusted away at the junction between the vent stack and the roof, and it literally just snapped off. But I didn't put any force on it. You'll see I've actually got the video over on the member zone when that happened. It was part of when I was doing various roof repairs and whatnot, but yeah, the vent stack literally just snapped off. If that had happened while someone was walking underneath it, it would have killed them. So there's an example of why, if you own a property, you have an obligation to maintain that property. And if you're not maintaining it, this is the sort of stuff that happens. All of the cast iron downpipes were absolutely knackered, by the way. The ones at the back of the property actually were split all the way down the back. And I think that's probably one of the major sources of damp in the kitchen here, because the downpipes from the roof have been leaking into the wall and probably into the floor here for 20, 30, 40 years. You know, it looks like it's been damp for a long time. As I say, I'll cover that in a separate video. Let me know in the comments what you would do about the dampness under this floor. One option is to rip the whole lot up, but that is a big job. You know, that's these quarry tiles, they're solid. They're really hard to get up, and it's not going to be an easy job ripping this floor out. What I'm vaguely tempted to do is cut about 300 mil from the edge of the wall all the way around and just dig out at the edge, put some DPM down, re-concrete, and then that'll stop the dampness from this floor bridging across into the adjoining walls. At the end of the day, this floor is going to be in the centre of the property once the extension's all done, so it should dry out eventually. I think we're just seeing the result of 100 years of zero maintenance and water from the downpipes at the back of the property just seeping under the floor and causing all sorts of problems. Plus, obviously, there could be a leak in the old lead water supply as well, or that could have been leaking. And because of the quarry tiles over the top of the concrete, it's just not getting a chance to dry out properly. I think it will dry out eventually, but if you remember, this had laminate on, and when I took the laminate up, it was damp to the touch under the laminate. So I think this has just been a very damp floor for a long time, and it will dry out. I don't think it's going to cause a problem, but at the end of the day, this is going to be a corridor and a downstairs toilet. So is it worth the effort of ripping the entire floor up and reconcreting it and the costs involved in doing that? When, as I say, the alternative is to just kind of dig around the edges and damp proof it and stop any moisture from this floor bleeding through to adjoining walls. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm in two minds about that one. Another example here of how all of the architraves are just completely shot, really. You can't keep that. Upstairs, and as you can see, I've stripped out the bathroom wall that used to be along here. Video coming out all about that. There'll be a new wall going a little bit further along, but we can't do that yet because we've hit a bit of a snag with our plans. And that is that we potentially need a custom-made piece of steel going across more or less where this wall came out. Nothing to do with the wall that I took out, but it's potentially going to be necessary for the extension to provide support for the new hipped roof that will run across and over that side of the property. What the hell's buzzing around here? Hello, Bumblebee. Look at you. You're huge. Let's see if I can open the window. Oh. Hello. Here's a minute, buddy. Let you out. Where have you gone? There you go. Hello, Bumblebee. Where is he? Go, go, up, down. No. Down. No. Yay. So yeah, that's going to get quite complicated to go into in a very quick kind of overview video, but to cut a long story short, the hipped roof that'll come all the way over here, the structural engineer wants it to be a truss kind of in the middle up here, if I can point the camera, so that if you imagine the hipped roof kind of ends, the peak of the hipped roof at the moment ends kind of here, and once the extension's done, the peak of the hipped roof is going to end kind of, what, say roughly where that light, pendant light is. And the structural engineer wants there to be a truss going up from there to the new peak of the hipped roof, and that needs to sit on structural timber going from left to right across there, and that structural timber needs to sit on two custom-made beams which go more or less nothing to do with this. They'll sit, one will sit, because this is a structural wall here, so one will sit on a pad stone at the end there, and it'll come all the way across, and then it'll follow the shape of the roof down, and it'll sit on this wall up here. And then there'll need to be another one at this end doing exactly the same thing, going all the way across and sitting on a pad stone, a new pad stone on a new bit of wall up the top there, once the new roof is kind of built. The problem is I urgently need to get the new bathroom built and to get the various trades in who are involved in that. So we need the plumber to put all the pipe work in for the new radiator, we need to get the Sparky in to do all his stuff, and there needs to be a partition wall going along that white line there, and I can't put that wall in until this new steelwork's in, unless we come up with an alternate solution. So if you've got any bright ideas of how to resolve this, then please post it in the comments, because it's causing a real headache at the moment. At the moment, we're vaguely debating, you know, there must be alternative ways of doing this, of not putting a steel from the top of that wall over there all the way across, because it's preventing us from getting the bathroom built. Anyway, one of many issues that we've run into the back bedroom, and this fireplace is all stripped out and will be blocked up. I'm not going to block it up until the chimney's been capped, because if any moisture does come down the chimney, then I would rather leave this open for it to dry out nicely. And once the chimney's capped, then we can get that blocked up, which means that we can't actually get this room replastered quite yet, because we need to wait for the chimney to be capped. We couldn't get the chimney capping done until we got the chimney swept, so the chimney sweep's been. We're waiting on a company to come out and do all the chimney work. In the meantime, I'm going to be soundproofing the alcoves in here as well. I've just put a little bit of bonding on the wall up here. Again, there was an old built-in wardrobe. It must have been original to the house that went all the way back to the bare brick. So just kind of getting a starting point that I can attach all the resilient clips to and all that sort of thing. So just filling in the holes. It's about my level of expertise with plastering. It'll not be left like this. This is just the first coat. It was quite deep. So there'll be another coat of bonding going over that, and then all of the resilient channels and everything. And yeah, there'll be a video coming up about that. So watch this space. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Stripped out all of the lath and plaster from these angled ceilings, because again, this was a cold spot on the roof. We were getting condensation. It was causing a bit of mold to build up. As you can see, the sarking felt underneath for 100-year-old sarking is in pretty good condition. That white stuff is where the spray foam's been put in from the loft side. So I've scraped out all of the spray foam around here just to let ventilation and let airflow come up. There will be 50mm PIR going in the gaps up there, kind of held against battens. And then there'll be, because these joists are about 100 mil or thereabouts, so 75 mil or something. So there'll be the 50 mil insulation, and then there'll be an air gap so that air can flow up the back and into the joists. But the joists are all absolutely spot on. There was a lot of wasps' nests up here, by the way. That's another problem for another day. I've removed all of the dead nests that were there, but clearly we've got some sort of problem with wasps getting in through the soffits. Anyway, getting that insulated and replasterboarded will make a huge difference. And as I say, while we're doing this, we're going to acoustically treat all of the alcoves as well. We might as well, and now is pretty much like the only opportunity to do that, so we might as well do it now, and it saves any noise between us and our neighbours. And then into the front bedroom, by the way, this is the old kind of scumbled stuff that was on the wall. As you can see, it's basically wallpaper that's painted brown. So that's what the scumble was, and it wasn't in a good state. Loads of areas were peeling off and loads of it was damaged, and because we're having to redo a lot of the electrics, so walls are being chased and that sort of thing, it's like, how do you match the chasing of the wall back into this? And eventually we had to make the decision, do we keep it or not? And I think keeping it is just a step too far. You know, as I say, not original to the house. Very interesting the way it's been done. It's obviously quite a talent the way this has been done, but it had to go a journey, unfortunately. Again, Mrs. Mack's done an awesome job on all the wallpaper stripping. In here, we're back to the bare original plaster. I've actually taken all the architraves and skirtings off in this room as well, so this is pretty much ready to be plastered once the new windows are in. So we're just waiting on new windows to go in here, and then the plasterer can butt his new plastering all the way up to the brand new windows. That wall's getting acoustically treated, so no need to take the wallpaper off that wall. And then I'll very quickly show you outside, because outside's probably the area that's had the biggest change, or the most stuff going on, because as I say, there's not a lot that we can get on with until all the planning permission and whatnot's gone through, but we have done quite a lot outside. You've probably already seen this in a few of the videos anyway. But as you can see, the office room is well under construction. Now, I've got the trench here for the electric supply to go in. I'm just waiting on an electrician to actually get back to us to do that work. But I've still got a bit more of the trench to do. We did that with a mini digger, absolutely amazing. The amount of work that we got done with a mini digger over one day. We got this, because this is about a 20-metre trench along here, so we got that trench done. We flattened out about 10 tonne of topsoil up there. We did the base for the new shed that you can just see in the distance. I'll show you that in a minute. And we did a little bit around the front of the property. So yeah, mini digger for 100 quid or whatever it was to hire it for a day. Absolutely, highly recommend it. As you can see, I've still got a little bit more digging to do by hand here. We've got kind of as far as we could with the mini digger, but I'll do this last little stretch by hand. One of the dilemmas that we've got at the minute is where to bring this electric supply in, because bearing in mind there's going to be foundations for the extension going here-ish, and yeah, this electric cable is going to have to come all the way under here, and we're going to encounter it when we come to do the foundations. My thoughts at the minute are to bring it along where this red line is, and maybe just bring it up the bottom of the wall here a little bit, and then bring it through the wall so that it's visible and you can see where the electric cable is. Because when it comes to digging all this up for doing the extension, otherwise it's not going to be particularly obvious where the electric cable's running. Anyway, jury's out on that. Again, let us know what you think in the comments. Can't remember if I've talked about this before, but unearthed a drain here, and there's a lateral shared sewer going all the way from left to right across underneath every single property. And that means we need a build over agreement for the extension. We're going to have to dig, it's about 700 mil deep. Let me quickly show you. So you can see it's solid concrete, and we'll go from what looks like a 4-inch pipe over on the right there to what looks like, I don't know, maybe a 10-inch pipe on the left, or an 8-inch, I'm not sure, need to measure it. But Northumbria Water have basically said what they want is this entire manhole stripped out, so that's going to be fun because obviously that drain won't be needed anymore, and a join put in here with a Y coming off over to a new inspection chamber in the garden so that it can be rodded into. So there's going to have to be a transition from the 4-inch to the whatever 8-inch or whatever on that side, and then this all sealed up again. So yeah, concrete manhole. Anyone with experience of removing concrete manholes, please let us know what's involved in the comments, because that doesn't sound like an easy job. I may end up tackling that myself, so if I do watch this space, there'll be a video about it, I can assure you of that. So yeah, as I say, there'll be basically a Y piece off that drain, and it'll go across somewhere over here, not near the electric cable, to a new inspection chamber somewhere on the outside of the extension. And yeah, bit of a ball ache, but not a lot we can do about that. I'm doing a whole separate set of videos all about the studio room, so I'm not going to go into that in a huge amount of detail. The roof's on, it's temporarily covered up at the minute because I can't do the rubber roof until things warm up a bit, because suddenly it's gone really cold and you can't do the adhesive for the rubber roof while it's freezing overnight. So that's having to wait a little bit, but I've got everything ready. I've got all the soffits and fascias ready to go on and whatnot. It's just I can't tackle it until the weather gets a bit better. As I say, there was about 10 tonne of topsoil here from the foundation dig for the studio room, so Mini Digger made light work of that. The building's watertight at least, which is good news, apart from the lack of window and door. Just need some decent weather so I can actually tackle the roof. But in the meantime, I've got loads of jobs I need to get on with in the house anyway, so I'm not too bothered, as long as the building's vaguely watertight and it can all dry out. And then one of the most recent jobs that I've done, unfortunately, this shed is going to have to go a journey at some point, so I've built a shiny new shed. That was the most stressful thing that I've had to do so far. That was like the Meccano set from hell, but got it done in the end. And as I say, we dug the kind of base out and whatnot with the Mini Digger when we had that. And it finally means that we can clear a lot of the contents of the shed out of the house and into our new little shed. Built a new fence at the bottom here as well, and that'll be the log store area. I've got loads and loads of wood that needs to be chipped. I've got a chipper video coming up. I've got a fencing video coming up as well. So many things happening at the moment. As I say, it probably looks like not a lot's been going on because we can't really start on the major extension work yet, but we're getting there. And as I say, don't judge this building yet. It's not going to look like that. It's going to look awesome once it's all finished. One thing I'm finding at the moment is that pretty much every trade is booked absolutely solid. Trying to get any trade to do anything at the moment, you're looking at 2 or 3 month lead time. I don't know if that's like that everywhere in the UK at the moment, but certainly in the northeast, I'm really struggling to find available trades at the minute. So yeah, if you are tackling a project like this, then do bear that in mind. With everything that's been going on in the world, it's really put a spanner in the works with a lot of projects at the moment, and it's really slowing things down. There's not a lot I can do about that. Out of my control, unfortunately, but yeah, what will be, I guess. Oh, and yes, of course, the garage is knocked down as well. As part of the studio room build, we had to knock that down to get the machinery in for doing the foundations for the garden office. Anyway, that's enough for today. Let us know what you think in the comments below. I'm very excited for the new windows going in tomorrow. I've still got so much I need to do, just not enough hours in the day, unfortunately. But you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and one of the things with these sort of projects is that you just need to keep chipping away at it and don't get downhearted when it feels like things are just never ending. We're nearly at the point where we're starting to put things back together. Not quite. Most of the strip out's done, but there is still a little bit. I still need to get the skirtings and architraves off, but we're almost at the point where we can start the replastering work and all that sort of thing. And to me, that's really a point in the renovation where it feels like you're turning a bit of a corner because everything's suddenly nice and clean and all the walls look nice and fresh and everything. So looking forward to that. Hope you enjoyed that. Take care, folks. I shall see you next time. Tatty bye. Crazy weather going on.